Welcome to Booming Bull Bear, where smart traders are made. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you find it valuable. Drop your thoughts in the comments and share it with fellow traders who want to win in the markets. The Awakening. Why most people never see it coming. Imagine this. The same spare change you leave forgotten in your wallet could be transformed into a portfolio worth tens of thousands. Sounds insane, right? But here's the shocking truth. There's a trading method, quietly used by professionals, that can turn pocket change into life-changing gains. And most beginners never hear about it. Today we're pulling back the curtain. Now let me take you back to main topic. It was a cold evening in 2015. A young guy named Daniel sat at his kitchen table, staring at his bank account. He had just $127 to his name. Bills were piling up and his job barely covered rent. Out of frustration, he opened YouTube and stumbled across a random video about trading. At first he laughed. Come on, no one makes real money doing this. But then he saw something that hit him differently. The trader in the video wasn't showing a Lamborghini or a mansion. He was showing a simple chart and explaining how he doubled a small account in 30 days, step by step. That single video sparked Daniel's obsession. He wasn't after millions. He just wanted to stop drowning in debt. He thought, if I can just turn $100 into $500, that's groceries for the month. But here's where most people stop. They get inspired. Maybe throw money at the market and quit when they lose. Daniel almost did the same. On his first few trades, he lost half of his 127. And here's the brutal truth. This is where 90% of traders give up. But Daniel didn't. Instead of chasing trades, he started hunting for patterns, those recurring moves in the market that professionals quietly take advantage of. He discovered that pros weren't gambling. They were waiting, patiently, like hunters in the wild. And the shocking part? Daniel realized he didn't need thousands to start. He didn't need Wall Street connections. He just needed to master one repeatable edge and compound it. That was his awakening. And in this video, I'm going to share how Daniel turned spare change into life-changing gains. By using the exact trading method, pros don't want you to know. Because let's face it, if too many people learned this, the pros would lose their advantage. But by the time you finish this series, you'll know how to take your first steps toward trading like them. This is not about hype. This is about clarity, discipline, and compounding small wins into something big. The question is, are you ready to see how it's really done? The hidden trap that keeps traders poor. If turning spare change into real wealth was as easy as clicking buy, everyone would be rich. But here's the dirty little secret. There's a trap almost every new trader falls into, and it's the reason 9 out of 10 stay broke. When Daniel first started trading, he thought he had it figured out. After all, he had seen those success stories, those charts and those bold claims. He believed all he needed was one big win. And that mindset was the beginning of his downfall. Here's what happened. One morning he woke up, saw a stock shooting up and thought, this is it. My moment. Without hesitation, he threw nearly everything he had into that one trade. For a few hours his account was green. He was up 70, which felt like a fortune. He imagined doubling, tripling, maybe even quitting his job. But within minutes the market flipped. That $70 gain turned into a $90 loss. His stomach dropped. Panic set in. He exited too late, and suddenly his account balance was almost wiped out. This is the trap. The illusion of the big win. You see, beginners chase excitement. They chase that adrenaline rush, the dream of doubling money in one move. But pros, they do the opposite. They think in terms of probabilities, risk, and survival. And here's the truth no one tells you. It's not the market that takes people's money. It's their own behavior. Think about it. The pros know most retail traders can't resist chasing shiny objects. Hot stock tips, sudden price spikes, that feeling of FOMO, fear of missing out. And every time a beginner takes the bait, the pros are waiting on the other side of the trade. Daniel learned this lesson the hard way. That near wipeout was his wake-up call. He realized that trading isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about avoiding the trap of gambling. Instead of swinging for home runs, he needed to focus on consistency. Small wins, risking only a tiny fraction of his account per trade. learning how to protect his downside so he could stay in the game long enough to grow. Because here's the paradox. The fastest way to build wealth in trading is to stop trying to get rich fast. Once Daniel flipped this mindset, everything changed. He stopped being the hunted and started thinking like the hunter. And that's when he discovered the method pros use to quietly compound their accounts without ever chasing hype. But before he found it, there was one more brutal truth he had to face: the psychological war inside his own head. Winning the psychological war every trader faces. The greatest battle in trading isn't on the chart. It's in your mind. And until you win that war, the market will eat you alive. After Daniel survived his near account wipeout, he thought the hardest part was over. But he was wrong. The real challenge wasn't the market. It was his own emotions. Every trade triggered a storm inside him. When he won, he felt unstoppable. When he lost, he felt crushed. His mood swung like a pendulum, tied to every tick of the chart. And that constant emotional roller coaster, it was exhausting. Here's the hidden truth. Most traders don't lose because of strategy. They lose because they can't control themselves. Think about it. You could hand the same winning strategy to 100 traders, and 90 of them would still blow up their accounts. Why? Because they panic too soon, exit too late, or overtrade out of greed. Daniel experienced all of this. He'd promise himself, okay, today I'll just take 2 trades and stick to the plan. But then he'd see another setup, get excited, and risk too much. When it worked, he felt like a genius. When it didn't, he spiraled. That's when he realized something critical. Trading is 80% psychology and only 20% mechanics. So he started to build rules, not for the market, but for his mind. He created rituals. Before entering a trade, he asked himself, am I calm or emotional? Do I know exactly where I'll exit if I'm wrong? Am I following my plan or chasing impulse? If he couldn't answer calmly, he didn't trade. At first, this discipline felt boring. No fireworks. No big adrenaline rush. But slowly, something changed. His losses shrank. His wins became more consistent. He no longer felt like a gambler. He felt like a professional. Here's what Daniel discovered. The pros don't just master charts. They master themselves. They know that the market is designed to exploit fear and greed. If you can't control those emotions, you'll always be the prey. But when you shift into control, something powerful happens. You stop chasing every trade, you wait. You strike only when the odds are in your favor. And suddenly the market feels less like chaos and more like a game you can actually play to win. For Daniel, this was the turning point. His small account wasn't growing fast yet, but for the first time, he wasn't bleeding money. He was surviving. And in trading, survival is victory, because if you can stay in the game, the gains will come. And that's when Daniel uncovered the method that would change everything. The exact edge professionals, quietly used to turn small accounts into life-changing ones. The method the pros don't want you to know. What if I told you that the secret to growing a small account isn't about taking more trades, but fewer? This is the exact edge professionals guard fiercely. Because once you understand it, you'll never look at the market the same way again. By now, Daniel had survived the emotional battles and the rookie mistakes. But surviving wasn't enough. He wanted to grow. And that's when he stumbled on a concept so simple, yet so hidden, that most beginners overlook it entirely. The pros call it the power of compounded edges. Here's what it means. Professionals aren't trying to win every trade. In fact, many of them win only 50–60% of the time. What sets them apart is this. When they win more than they lose. Every trade they take has a positive expectancy, meaning, over time the math works in their favor. Think of it like a casino. The casino doesn't care if you win a hand at blackjack. They know that if you keep playing, their edge, even if it's just 2%, guarantees they win over time. That's exactly how pros treat the market. They don't gamble. They set up rules where their average winning trade is bigger than their average losing trade. And then they repeat that edge over and over again. For Daniel, this was the breakthrough. Instead of chasing random moves, he studied one pattern obsessively, breakouts from consolidation. Here's how it worked. 1. He'd find a stock that was moving sideways, building pressure like a coiled spring. 2. He'd wait patiently until the price broke out of that tight range with strong volume. 3, he'd enter with a small position, set a strict stop-loss just under the range, and target a reward at least twice the size of his risk. That meant if he risked $10, he aimed to make $20 or more. Even if he lost half his trades, he'd still grow over time. At first, his account barely moved, but slowly something magical happened. 127 became 60, then 200, then $350. The growth wasn't flashy, but it was steady. And here's the kicker. Professionals don't want you to know this because it's not sexy. They'd rather sell you on big wins, flashy systems, and get-rich-quick hype. But the truth? Wealth in trading comes from stacking small edges relentlessly. Daniel now saw himself like the casino. He didn't need to win every time. He just needed to keep repeating the same edge, with discipline until his account snowballed. This is the method, boring, consistent, and insanely powerful. The method that turns spare change into life-changing gains. But Daniel's story doesn't end here. Because once the account started to grow, a new challenge appeared, the leap from small-time trader to building true wealth. From spare change to life-changing gains. This is where everything changes. Because growing a small account is one thing, but turning it into life-changing gains, that requires a final leap most traders never make. Daniel had done the impossible. He'd turned his last $120 into a few $1,000s through discipline, patience, and his breakout method. For the first time in his life, he wasn't broke. But here's the truth. A few $1,000s doesn't change your life. And this is where most traders get stuck. They either withdraw too early, burning their progress, or they get greedy and over-leverage, blowing up the account. Daniel knew he needed a new approach, not just a trading system, but a wealth system. So he asked himself a hard question. How do the pros scale? Here's what he discovered. The pros don't chase bigger trades. They don't suddenly risk half their account on a sure thing. They scale like scientists, step by step. Once their account reaches a certain level, they increase position size by a fraction, always small enough to protect themselves, but big enough to accelerate growth. Daniel followed the same principle. Every time his account grew by 20%, he slightly increased his risk per trade, but never more than 2% of his total balance. That way, he allowed compounding to do the heavy lifting. And here's the magic. Compounding doesn't look exciting at first. 127 becomes 500s, then $1,000. But once momentum kicks in, growth accelerates. $2,000 can become $5,000. $5,000 can become $15,000. Over time, those small gains snowball into something life-changing. But Daniel also learned one more vital truth. Trading alone won't set you free. Trading smart will. He started keeping meticulous journals, recording not just trades, but his thoughts, emotions, and mistakes. He learned faster because he could see patterns in his own behavior. He stopped chasing news, stopped trying to trade every market, and focused only on what he mastered, breakouts. And slowly his identity shifted. He wasn't a guy trying to make money trading anymore. He was a disciplined operator, building wealth like a professional. This is the transformation most people never experience. From spare change to life-changing gains. And here's the truth, Daniel isn't special. He didn't have connections. He didn't start with a big account. He just followed principles the pros don't want you to know. Risk small. Master psychology, and repeat your edge until compounding takes over. Now here's the question for you. Will you stay on the sidelines? Or will you take your first step toward trading like the pros? If this story lit a fire in you, then do me a favor, smash that like button, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe for more deep dive trading strategies. Because this channel isn't about hype, it's about turning small beginnings into unstoppable success. And your journey could start today.